to the world, it was a tragedy. The paparazzi captured every tear. The tabloids printed every breakdown. They wrote the obituary for her career before she was even 30. But while the world was busy watching the crash, a financial empire was quietly being forged in the background. For 13 years, the court said she couldn't manage a single dollar, yet behind the scenes, the music kept playing, the perfumes kept selling, and the money kept flowing. We are talking about a woman who in 2026 walked away with a net worth nearing $150 million. This isn't a story about a victim. This is a story of a quiet strategist. Today we are breaking down how the princess of pop, Britney Spears, turned a $60 million prison sentence into a $150 million liberation. Before the headlines, there was Kentwood, Louisiana, a town of under 2,000 people. At just 8 years old, Britney Spears failed her first audition for the Mickey Mouse Club. She was told to come back later. Here is the detail everyone misses. She came back. She drove the same 900 miles again just to prove them wrong. That great? That is the engine that eventually built a fortune. By 1999, she wasn't just a singer, she was a corporation. The album Baby One More Time sold over 30 million copies globally. By 2002, she was earning an estimated $40 million a year from touring and records alone. Her brand was a fortress. Pepsi signed her to an $8 million promotional deal, their biggest entertainment investment at the time. Toyota flew her across Asia to sell the vase. Between 1999 and 2007, she had already raked in roughly $100 to $125 million. She had the Lamborghinis, the multi-million-dollar mansion. But then the engine seized. 2007 broke her. The divorce from Kevin Federline, the loss of custody, the paparazzi feeding frenzy. In February 2008, her father, Jamie Spears, petitioned for a conservatorship. The court said she was incapable of handling her own life. She was placed in a cage, but here is the financial twist you need to understand. During those 13 years, while she was told she couldn't buy a coffee without permission, she generated an estimated $150 to $200 million. She released 4 studio albums. She became a judge on The X Factor for $15 million. She signed a massive fragrance deal that moved hundreds of millions of units. But where did the money go? We will get to that. Because while the courts took her freedom, they couldn't stop her productivity. And one move, one specific career pivot set the stage for her $150 million payday. In 2013, Britney did something that very few pop stars had done successfully. She signed a Las Vegas residency, Britney Piece of Me. At the time, many called it a step down, a retirement home for pop stars, but watch the numbers. She played 248 shows over 4 years. She sold nearly 1 million tickets. The box office gross, $137.7 million. That residency turned her into a living legend while keeping her costs low and her presence stable. But Vegas was just the spark. The real fuel, the thing that kept her rich while she was silenced, was sitting on the shelves of every CVS and Walmart in America. Most fans know the songs, but the real empire isn't on Spotify, it's in the fragrance aisle. In 2004, she launched Curious. Within its first year, it generated $100 million in sales. It was the top-selling fragrance of 2004, knocking out legacy brands that had been around for decades. Then came Fantasy in 2005, then another and another. As of 2025, Britney Spears has released 47 perfumes. Globally, her fragrance line has grossed over $1.5 billion in receipts. At its peak, a bottle was selling every 15 seconds. This wasn't just a celebrity cash grab, it was a monopoly on the scent of the 2000s. While her father legally controlled her bank account, the checks from Elizabeth Arden kept cashing. For 13 years, that smell in the air, that was freedom, bottled and sold for $49.99. But there was a massive problem. The machine that was supposed to protect her was eating her alive. Earlier, I asked where the $200 million she earned during the conservatorship went. Let's run the math. According to forensic estimates, the conservatorship apparatus, the lawyers, the managers, and notably her father Jamie consumed an estimated $90 million to $140 million of her earnings. Jamie Spears was reportedly paying himself $16,000 per month from her accounts plus commissions. When Britney finally broke free in November 2021, the woman who had been the best-selling female artist of the 2000s had a publicly reported net worth of just $60 million. For perspective, while her peers Beyoncé, Taylor Swift, Rihanna soared into the billions, Britney was financially restrained, but then the world started listening. In 2019, a mysterious podcast and a group of fans noticing coded messages in her Instagram captions gave birth to the Free Britney movement. The world finally realized that the jokes about her crazy dancing were actually the screams of a woman asking for help. In June 2021, Britney took the stand. It was a raw, terrifying, and powerful plea that shook the legal system to its core. By November 2021, the conservatorship was terminated. Britney Spears was officially free. She had control over her body, her life, and crucially her checkbook. But after losing a decade of growth, how do you build an empire from scratch? You start with a pen. 3 months after her freedom was granted, she negotiated a $15 million book deal. It was one of the biggest publishing contracts of all time. The Woman in Me wasn't just a memoir, it was a reclamation. It debuted as a #1 New York Times bestseller, selling over 1.1 million copies in its first week and eventually moving over 3 million copies in the US alone. The world was starving for her truth, and she turned that truth into millions. Which brings us to the masterstroke, the final step in her financial comeback. In February 2026, Britney Spears did something that shocked the industry. She sold her music catalog to Primary Wave. The deal was reportedly worth between $150 million and $200 million. Forbes estimates that this single transaction doubled her personal fortune. Overnight, her net worth skyrocketed to approximately $150 million, arguably the highest liquid net worth of her entire career. She sold the rights to the songs that were used against her. She liquidated the past to secure the futures. She kept the rights to her name, her image, and her likeness, meaning the Britney brand will keep growing. She now owns multiple real estate properties worth millions, including her $7 million estate in Thousand Oaks. For 25 years, the world told Britney Spears she was a product, a punchline, a headline, but she was something else entirely. She was a creator. While the world was watching the drama, she was creating value. She performed through exhaustion. She launched perfumes through silence. She wrote her history the moment she could pick up a pen. She didn't just survive the 13 years of control, she outlasted it. And today, at 44 years old, Britney Spears isn't waiting for permission. She's driving into the horizon with $150 million in the bank, and the world finally showing her some respect. Because when you build an empire in the dark, no one can turn the lights out on you. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more deep dives into the hidden fortunes of pop culture, hit that subscribe button. See you in the next one.